Alana Wilksch, thank you for inviting me to Colombia to your special bar.
Thanks, Gary.
So where are we?
Okay, this is, I'm going to say it the way that he says it, Roland's Beachside Bar. It's, as it looks, you can guess it's a reggae beach bar on a little island off the coast of Colombia. It's technically like a Caribbean island, so these people don't really consider themselves Colombian, but it's very hard to get to. We had been traveling, like when I left Australia, before I moved to Ireland, I took a year off and went traveling around South America. And Colombia was the last country, and this was one of the last stops. And it's quite remote, hard to get to. You have to fly to another island, which is a bit bigger, has some hotels. And then you get to this one, which has no hotels. Like you sleep in little huts and houses, but yeah.
Wow. All there's to do all day is have a pina colada.
Yeah, so you drink rum, the aguardientes, like their pochine. They all listen to Bob Marley. They speak Creole, so it's real proper Caribbean. We were getting around on a little moped, and when we hired it, like there wasn't even an option to get a helmet. It's that kind of place. And then we had a few drinks here in the afternoon, and we asked, like, we haven't seen any taxis on the island. Like, what happens? And they looked at us like, no, you just get on your bike and go home.
Okay, there aren't any police going to stop you, because it looks, and I know we've different photographs, but mine, it looks like if it's called a building, is from debris washed up from the beach.
Yeah, a lot of the bars are like that. But at night, it's all lit up. It's absolutely packed. The music is thumping. You can, in your picture, actually, you can see the volleyball net. So if you go there earlier in the afternoon and evening, yeah, that's where, you know, there'll be volleyball tournament happening, and then the reggae starts and they start dancing, and it's just a great night.
It's so, when you're describing it like that, and I have been to Koh Samui and some of those places, it's hard to describe the spontaneity of these places, isn't it?
Yeah.
It just seems to be nothing, and then it gets its own mood, and then bang, and you can't recreate it.
No, and because they don't really get a lot of tourists there, we were like not a novelty. Everyone wanted to talk to us, and the Aussie girl and the Irish guy. And so the following day we went out in one of the guys' boats and we went snorkeling and hiking, and he was laughing at us because we were hungover from drinking too much rum the night before. And then we went and visited another guy at his bar the following night on the other side of the island. So yeah, it was just this really fantastic experience.
Well, thank you for not saying the name of it, because if you did say the name of the little island, of course, it wouldn't be the same when you go back, because all people listening to this will all be there, and there'll be a Forte crest or something on the top of it, you know. So we'll keep it a secret where it is. It's a small island off the coast of Colombia. Good enough for me. We're sitting there, you're having a pina colada and I'm having a glass of Coke, and I say to you, so tell us something not a lot of people know about you.
What I found, like the difference between having someone ask where you're from if you're Irish and asking someone where they're from if you're Australian. In Ireland, people tend to say exactly where they were born. They can pinpoint exactly the place that they're from. Whereas I think when people ask where I'm from, I generally say Adelaide because it's easier. Australia's a big country, but I'm not actually from Adelaide. I'm from a town about 2 hours from Adelaide. Very small, grew up on a vineyard, not wearing shoes, running around in the middle of nowhere.
Wow. Hold on a second now. Vineyard.
Yeah, so that's why I love my wine, Gary. It's in the blood.
A commercial vineyard.
Yeah, so from the age of 5, roughly, like I was out sitting on the harvesters with Dad, and when he'd come in for dinner, he'd pour a glass of wine, he'd ask me to sniff it, and what do I smell, what do I taste? And he was basically a farmer, but on, you know, for grapes. So,
and again, my ignorance will show, but in Adelaide, outside of Adelaide, on this vineyard, is what he's doing the same as a dude down in Kerry doing carrots? He's a farmer.
Essentially, yeah. It's a bit more fun in terms of the product you get afterwards.
Yeah,
But yeah, essentially, like it's harvesting grapes that are then taken to whichever winery, like ours was Yalumba. That's where all the grapes would go. So I grew up never paying for wine. And when I moved away and went to university, Dad would feel sorry for me going to parties, and all my friends would drink passion pop, which is like $4 a bottle or something, and it's this rotten sparkling wine. And he would actually bring cases and cases of wine whenever he came to visit in Adelaide, because he just couldn't stand the thought of us getting sick over that.
So the rest of us are trying to get our kids to consume less, and your dad is rocking up with a truck full of the stuff. Oh man.
Yeah.
I said before off air, before we came on, you're authentic and you know exactly where you stand when you have a chat with Alana. So there's another one, right? So now we know why. Now we know why. I'm just getting my head around that now. You lived on a vineyard and you had no shoes. My goodness, there's a movie in that one. You can just see Julia Roberts going back into the old when I was in Adelaide.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I always thought I was going to, well, firstly, be an Olympian, either swimming or athletics. And secondly, like end up in the wine industry. I didn't do any of that.
And I know, because my wife was involved for a while, it's a real science, isn't it? Viticulture, vinification, all about sunlight, soils, vineyards, the whole lot. And it was really interesting because recently, I know you're involved in our DCs for Bees, and we had a thing where we were talking to a guy who does a cider.
Yeah.
And he was talking the same type of stuff. He was a cidery owner. It was like listening to somebody about wine. He was passionate about the apples and stuff. So do you have the same relationship with cider?
Not quite with cider, but I do with whiskey. I love visiting distilleries, and like maybe is because I grew up in the wine industry, but I'm interested in how it's made, and I love doing the tours and then the tastings afterwards. Yeah, not so much cider, but whiskey and even beer. Like I love beer and going to visit breweries.
Because it is an art. I mean, I know we only consume it, but when you look behind it, it's like a lot of things. There's a lot goes on the other side.
Exactly.
So you've been, like the rest of us, stuck on a screen for forever now, it feels. What keeps Alana smiling and motivated? Because you look like you're still the same person 18 months ago that was rocking around Dublin, Monaco, Amsterdam, and you seem to be still as motivated. But obviously, like all of us, you've had to work on it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably am a bit more refreshed now. I have traveled recently, so that's kind of re-energized, and I have friends that live nearby, so I see them quite a lot. But I think in COVID, we've gone through a real evolution. I think at the start, we were in huge lockdown and we couldn't leave the house, and you had to be on Zoom the whole time. And I think it just broke so many barriers that we needed to break as a society to work from home. A lot of, I think, businesses thought that people weren't going to be as productive. And then all of a sudden they realized actually they are. If anything, they're probably working harder to try and prove that, or they've got nothing else going on, so they are working harder. But it took a lot of getting used to. Like, I'm a really active person, so I definitely missed the gym. I ate and drank too much and put on weight and all of the COVID stuff that a lot of people did. But I think now it's good to have a bit of a hybrid between working from home and going into the office. But initially trying to create that virtually, it's like we started doing the online drinks and quizzes and things like that, which was great at first because you're thinking the only time I'm online is to talk shop or, to be in a meeting. But then we all got sick of those. And so you kind of had to keep evolving how to do that. But like a good mix of exercise, getting out and still seeing people, be able to create that collaboration.
And that's the truth. What you've just said is that you evolve. One of the things at the early stages, and I was on calls where this was said, was by people who maybe were deciding where their teams would work, is we haven't got quite over the trust stage yet. Can we trust them? And I was just thinking, wow.
We're well.
But this was maybe 9 months in,
Oh, yeah.
and it's big word, isn't it? Trust. It's the biggie. It's probably means everything. I know that you recently got married. Well done.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of that whole thing, obviously, as well. But when you start now in 12, 18 months, where you say, and I agree, people are finding it challenging knowing when they're working and when they're not,
Yeah.
to stop working. Can I trust? Both sides probably have to build up a bit of trust, but a hybrid working environment, I think, is,
Yeah.
what we all want.
Yeah, I think trust is definitely important, but I don't know. I think in a lot of businesses, just because you're in the office doesn't necessarily mean that, because you're, bums on seats, doesn't necessarily mean you're productive. And in a lot of businesses, you'll be found out soon enough if you're not pulling your weight, whether you're in, whether you're at home. Like if it's output based and you're not delivering, then enough said.
So it's been short and sweet. We've been in Colombia, we've been in Dublin, we've been in Kerry, we've been in a few places actually.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to tell the world about this little place that is an island off an island?
I suppose I could say it's Providencia is the name of the island. It is fabulous. You can get there either by boat or by plane. I haven't been to many other Caribbean islands, but I was just really struck by how small and just genuine it seemed, as opposed to resorts and busy people, packed beaches and all of that.
Well, Alana, thank you. Thank you for your time. Congratulations on getting married. And very soon we will see you in person. Very soon.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be having a drink in person soon.
Thanks a million.
Thanks.